all about how they've achieved this thing and how they designed it, not just about the fact that it tells you what time it is.
Hey everyone, I'm Chase, founder of Oak & Oscar. Welcome to the next episode of The Watch Table. We're here today at the Oak & Oscar HQ to talk with Thomas about his watches and why he loves them. Thomas is a father, dog lover, Blackhawks fan, and an expert in typography design. His work has been featured across the world in places like the Chicago Design Museum, and most recently in New York with a special Disney installation. Let's learn more about the story behind the watch. Thomas, welcome. We're excited to have you at the Watch Table.
Thanks for having me.
So, of course, the first question is, why do you love watches?
I think what I'm so interested in watches is that since I'm a graphic designer, a lot of what I have to do is make something work, make something functional. And when I'm designing, whatever I do to make something look nice, make something look beautiful, has to serve the function that it's trying to achieve. So if it's a website, it's a brochure, whatever I do to make that look great can't be a distraction from what it's trying to get done.
Absolutely. I think that's one thing that's so wonderful about watches is it's a design, it's a function, it's really a work of art on your wrist.
Well, it's funny because I've definitely talked to people before that say, well, I use my phone for the time.
Sure.
Why do I need a watch if I can just look at my phone and there's the time? And to me, it just so misses the point. It'd be like saying, why should I go to a museum if I can just look at all the pictures on Google Images? It's kind of like, well, it's not just about seeing the images, it's about seeing the art itself.
It's the experience.
And so the watch is just kind of the same thing to me, where it's all about how they've achieved this thing and how they designed it, not just about the fact that it tells you what time it is.
Sure. You have some watches that are important to you for various reasons, but a couple of which were handed down to you from your father, who, as you said, was an avid Swatch collector, and you even brought, you said, just part of his Swatch collection here, which was just an amazing surprise. It was pretty hilarious to see that, to pull out that pile of swatches. But he gave you a couple of pieces that are pretty important, not only because he gave them to you, but the first of which would be this Longines that was to celebrate a 1966 Notre Dame football game, and more importantly, the championship. It's a special piece, and it's something that it's very cool to have that story, to have it passed to you. Can you tell us a little more about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think every sporting championship now, I think you get rings. I don't know if there's some that would still give watches, but back then they gave watches if you won a national championship to all the players of the winning team.
And another watch that your father gave you was your only dress watch, your Patek.
He got this Patek, and it's funny because when he told me about it, I could tell he's kind of proud to tell me I got this nice watch. And he would always call it a Philippe Patek. I think I'd imagine he had someone talk him into this is the one you should get, kind of thing.
That's pretty cool, and the fact that you can appreciate it is something that is just as special, and that's great. And another new acquisition of yours is something that you bought to celebrate a very important career milestone of yours, and it's this new, to you, Rolex Explorer. Tell us a little bit more about what drew you to this piece.
Being someone who's kind of very particular about typography, I really love all the vintage Rolexes because the numbers they use today are not my favorites, but the ones they use on most of their older pieces, I just love. I have an old sub, I have an old GMT. I just really prefer how those look in comparison to the modern day versions of them. And this Explorer is no exception to that. I like the current Explorer, but the numbers and just the details of this vintage one are just kind of perfect to me.
It's a beautiful piece.
Yeah.
It wears remarkably well, it looks beautiful, and it's certainly something that you should be proud of, and is frankly worth the celebration of being part of that pretty cool installation. So how did you hear about Oak & Oscar?
I had a trip to Japan planned, and I figured it was a good excuse to get a GMT. You know, you're going to need a GMT if you're going somewhere like Japan. So I was looking around GMTs and saw the Sanford and really loved it, and then didn't love finding out that it was going to be impossible to get. But that was kind of my introduction to the brand, and the Jackson was the next one that was put out. I love the two-hand subdial. I love that there's just two subdials instead of the three. Kind of gives it its own little feel. I love the numbers used. I love the coloring on it. Just everything about it. I thought all the little details were really all perfect, which is pretty important to me.
Yeah, it's a huge compliment from you. And what's also interesting is the numbers used on the subdials are actually, you will appreciate this, the same numbers used on the Burnham and the Sanford, and now also the Humboldt, just filled in. They're just not done in the sandwich expression, they're printed.
Cool.
So we were able to carry over that typography to that model as well.
Every piece you've got definitely has a really, they all really feel like they're part of a family. You can really tell that it's, well, they all belong to one.
I appreciate that. I guess, and speaking about that, you did just pick up our latest piece, the Humboldt, which is, this is a prototype, and this is a piece that we are very proud of. And I'm also honored to the fact that you enjoy this piece too. And it's something that was really fun to see your email about how much you enjoyed it and liked it. That was really cool.
Yeah, I don't think there's many watch people out there that don't like a sandwich style. When you see that, you're just like, all right, yeah, I'm gonna need to get this one too.
It's fun for me. It's kind of architecture within that little case. Going up, going down, whether it's sandwich or indices, I love the idea that you're creating its own little world down there. So another watch that we find a lot of architects, designers appreciate, and I have a couple as well, is the Nomos. And you have a Nomos Ahoy that you picked up, and I think you had said that you really did love the dial layout, and again, the numbers. They do a great job with their dials.
Yeah, it's definitely, I'd say it's probably the cleanest watch I own. Their numbers are just so cool and they're so distinct. It's really just a really nicely executed watch, and I really love the design of that dial.
One piece that's on the table is something that we're pretty intrigued by. I've seen it in clock form more often than wristwatch form, and it's this piece. It's called just the clock, but with a Q. It's such a tremendously interesting piece, and really, it's charming. It's really nice. It's really fun.
Yeah, I again, as a designer, loved how they pulled it off. My daughter looks at it and sees all the words jammed together and just doesn't understand what is happening. And I show it to her and I click the thing in and I show, hey, it says the time. It kind of speaks the time. It doesn't speak it, but it writes out the time.
This piece does it in a very different way, which brings us to a piece that I think is one of my favorite in your collection, is this Resonance.
It's my number one. It's my favorite watch I own. It is just, it's so amazing what they've done and how the whole dial rotates around and it's configured differently depending on what time it is just amazing. I've shown it to people who think that it's digital or something, that it's some sort of e-paper or something, because they just don't understand how it works. And then I always have to take it off and actually kind of wind the background to show them how it works, because they just don't even comprehend it. But even though it's a watch that does such a crazy thing, it is really easy to read. Yeah. I said at the beginning that the design of it shouldn't take away from its function. And even though this is just a kind of out there design, it is still a very functional timepiece.
Well, I think now it's time for the final rapid fire questions. You ready? Okay. Favorite complication?
GMT.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
If you could live anywhere else in the world, where would it be?
Probably Sydney, Australia. My wife and I went there for our honeymoon, and I just loved being there more so than most other cities I've visited.
Yeah. If you could have any superpower, what would it be?
It'd be to not have to sleep. I'm very much a night person and love working at night when everyone's asleep, and would love to just be able to work until everyone else wakes up.
Yeah, I have 2 kids, so I unfortunately have that superpower of not being able to sleep.
Yeah.
Whether I want to or not. Favorite swear word?
It's gotta be fuck. Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Who'd win in a fight, Jeremy Roenick or Jonathan Toews?
I love to say Jonathan Toews because he's really my guy, but I think, if I'm being honest, it'd be Jeremy Roenick.
I would agree with that. Final question. How many nylon straps are in the jar?
I'm gonna say 88.
88. All right. Well, with that, I want to say thank you very much for coming to the watch table. It's been my pleasure. Cheers.